Good afternoon. I'm Jane Wolstenholme. I'm an Associate Professor of Health Economics based at the University of Oxford, and I'm one of the lead advisors for the RSS, University of Southampton and Partners. Today, I'm going to be taking you through some things to think about when putting together your training and development plan for your Career Development Award. So, what makes an application excellent? This is a quote taken from the chair of the NIHR Doctoral Award Selection Committee, but it's also relevant for early career fellowships such as the Pre-Doctoral or Pre-Application Support Fund or the Spark or the LA Spark. And you can see here that they've said you are applying for a fellowship and not a research grant. So this is your chance to tell us about your development as a research leader of the future. Don't just list graduate school courses. Think about what weaknesses or gaps you have that challenge the delivery of your research and state how you're going to overcome those. And that can form part of your training and development plan. So when you start to think about your training and development plan, you've got to remember it's a sort of reflective exercise to start with. So involve any mentors you have, the supervisor, your proposed supervisors, colleagues, post-award holders, because they'll have something to say about your training and development plan, and they might have some good ideas of courses or aspects of training that you haven't thought about. So when you're putting it together, I suggest thinking about the quality and relevance of the academic training and the development plan proposed. Think about the suitability of the proposed training to the needs of your proposed research area of interest. Think about the extent to which the proposed practice activities will support the development of you as a practitioner and academic, and the extent to which the training and development plan will support your career aspirations. So it's important to get this training plan right. The training and career development plan is central to your application as an early, in these sort of early career development programs. It should be tailored to your needs to progress to the next stage of your clinical and research academic career. And it's not just about the technical skills required for your proposed research area. You need to demonstrate you have identified training needs across areas required for your whole career progression. So it's important to try and identify and indicate your gaps in your current knowledge and skills and experience, and convey how the funding will enable you to bridge this gap. You should not only be focusing on your knowledge and your intellectual abilities that are required for your proposed area of research that you're indicating in this application, but also identify gaps in your skill set for things like personal effectiveness. So, for example, leadership, project management, time management. Identify gaps in your skill sets for things like engagement and impact. So think about courses on effective dissemination, public speaking, presentation skills, writing for publications and reports, engaging with public and communities, and ensuring research inclusion. Also, think about the gaps that you have in the current knowledge on research governance and organisations. So, for example, understanding budgets, ethics, timelines, and deliverables. So it's not just about getting you ready for your research per se, the research project per se, it's getting you ready for your career trajectory and broader research that is required. So in identifying these training needs, there are actually some useful tools that are available. This one is a sort of an example of the VITAI Research Development Framework, and you can access it at this website that I've indicated here. There are also, and that sort of identifies the gaps and thinking about how you fill them. There are also sort of universities often have access to training needs assessment tools. Um, so, have a look at what your higher education institution or your practice institution has on offer. But Vitae also, you can access that freely as well. And as I said, discuss this with your supervisor, heads of department, colleagues, or previous award holders, because they also can input into what and identify some of your training needs. So what training and development can you undertake? Um, so, as I said, it's useful to conduct that mapping exercise using those training needs assessment tools. Think about the skills and knowledge needed to undertake your proposed research. For example, it might be a whole MSc, or you might have a bespoke training program of different courses and MSc modules and broader things that I'll come on to discuss. Think also about not only that's related to your proposed area of research interest and your project, but think about training related to you as a future researcher. So what's needed next? Think about your career trajectory. So think about collaborations with other research groups and other formal courses that can help you in your career trajectory. And then, think about other things related to you as a future leader. So do you need management and leadership training? And how are you developing yourself? And these might be through collaborations or subject matter, etc. What is important is whatever you indicate as your training needs and indicate that the training courses or collaborations, etc., you need to justify these. And for each chosen element of training, for example, course, collaboration, conference, provide a summary of what skill it will give you and how it will be relevant to your proposed research and your career trajectory. Say how long the course is and the timing of the course if known, and link it to a Gantt chart, which I'll come to later. As indicated, I think you need to think beyond actual formal training courses. So think about things like visits and collaborations, conferences. Now, conferences facilitate networking and potential long-term collaborations, so you can put that down in your training development plan. Visits, placements, collaborations with people. So usually not for these early career fellowships, but for a doctoral, say a doctoral, you could easily put down an international group that you might want to visit. But you could start thinking about networks and collaborations with them early at this early stage as well. If you're developing some kind of tech, health tech or whatever, think about industry collaborations maybe. Think where the leading research unit in your research area is and start collaborations with them. And indicate what you hope to gain from any visit or any presentation that you give to them, etc. So indicate all of those in your training and development plan. Another area of your training and development is in terms of your supervision and mentors. Now, you can mention this in your career development plan. Now, there was a more detailed session on this back on the 22nd of October, presented by Liz Stokes, in terms of what to think about when you think about in terms of your supervisors and your mentors. But in terms of your career and development, you need to explain how your supervisors and mentors are supporting you, their research and methodological expertise areas, and what value they add to your training and the frequency of contact with them. If an applicant doesn't have the required expertise and research methods that they are proposing in their application, the selection committee will expect to see specific training as part of the training and development programme and relevant support in the form of a suitable supervisor or mentor. So they are important as a form of sort of support and conveying sort of practice and training to you. In terms of the Spark and LA Spark, they say in the guidance documents that the NIHR views senior managers, heads of department, and their organizations as key contributors to training and career development of our next generation of leaders and practitioner academics. Therefore, information should also be provided that pertains to the organisation's track record of approaches to supporting employers in their personal and professional career development and trajectory. So it is important for your supervisors and mentors to think about how they are going to support you in terms of training and getting you to the next stage of your career development. Another aspect to think about when you're putting your application together is think about the timetable and milestones of your training plan. So add it to your Gantt chart and how that fits into your lifetime of your research award. So thinking about the timing of the training is really important. Courses should actually be undertaken before you need the new skill in the project. And also in this Gantt chart, include your mentoring meetings and your conferences, etc. So this is an example of a successful career development application. The aim of the research is to develop a web-based decision aid to support parents of a child with neuroblastoma, which has relapsed and who are making repeated treatment decisions over time. The aims of this were to undertake, the objectives, sorry, were to undertake a scoping review focused on multiple treatment decision making, to undertake interviews with parents to understand what is important when making treatment decisions and how these treatment decisions may change over time. And thirdly, to develop a decision aid for parents who are making multiple treatment decisions over time. So they had to think about what training aspects to consider to conduct this research. So you can see here that they split their training elements into the training that was required specifically for that research area. So they've put a qualitative data analysis course down. They put an e-learning course on patient decision aid development. And they also had a course on recruiting for inclusive research. In terms of post-fellowship, thinking a lot further forward, they thought about, well, I need to think about how to conduct a feasibility study for complex public health interventions. So I might start thinking about putting an introductory course in for that for now, and an introductory course to RCTs as well. And then other training they included were things, for example, for conference and events, clinical leadership program on emerging clinical leaders. They included a law and ethics in pediatrics, and they had a presentation skills masterclass and knowledge into action. So thinking forward to sort of knowledge mobilization and impact. So the key tips for successful applications are: you need a good justification for the need and importance of each course. You need to convey the skills that would be acquired as a result of completing each course and how this would benefit your career trajectory. You need to have a good alignment with the elements of your proposed research project and your aims and objectives of that research. You need to ensure that the time of the training aligns with any of the proposed research activities. And also consider the cost of the training, sort of include both free and paid courses. So some higher education institutions, if that's going to be your host institution, will offer sort of free courses to you. So do take those up, but also think about where courses are, of real importance to your proposed research or your career trajectory, and put those down with the costs of those to you, and then pulling it all together. So set out a training and development program which progresses over the timeline of the award. Include a mix of formal courses and experience-based learning. Make the most of the training offered by your higher education institution or your host institution, and look more broadly for relevant development opportunities in the wider research environment. I'm going to leave you with a thought from committee members on these type of panels. So they say the training plan is important. You need to get it right. So a thorough training and development plan is central to your application. It should consider the range of skills you need to gain to progress to the next stage of your academic career, not just the technical know-how of how to complete your research or your project. We want to see evidence that you have assessed the gaps in your skill set and what are your needs in further developing your abilities to build capacity, lead a team, communicate with a range of audiences using different media, or build up PPI involvement in research or research inclusion.